Canadian Express Entry Program favors blue-collar construction workers. On August 5, CIC News, a Canadian immigration news website, pointed out that Canada's immigration policy has undergone a major turnaround, which can be summarized in 3 sentences. 1. Blue-collar construction workers are given PR card quickly. 2. Overseas students spend millions without success. 3. Chinese white-collar immigrants are even more difficult. On August 1, the Immigration Canada, IRCC, announced that Express Entry, EE, will conduct targeted selection for candidates with industry experience, with the first batch of selected professions including carpentry, plumbing, and welding. On the same day, the Canadian Immigration Department conducted a random selection of EE regular category candidates, with a minimum score of 517 points. On August 2, the Canadian Immigration Department conducted a targeted selection for candidates who are proficient in French, with a minimum score of 435. Perhaps some people are indignant and think that since Canada is a bilingual country, why can learning French earn 435 points, and learning English earn 517 points? Actually, there is no fairness or unfairness. For immigrant candidates, facing reality is enough. On August 3, the Canadian Immigration Department fulfilled its August 1 announcement and launched its first Express Entry special invitation for skilled workers, with a minimum score of only 388. Do you young talents under the age of 30, with a master's degree or above, an IELTS score of at least 87, and 2 years of work experience in Canada feel a sense of collapse? After overcoming 5 hurdles and 6 challenges, you have barely managed to pass 500 points. But the distance of 517 points is still out of reach. But any construction worker who speaks good English can become a permanent resident of Canada with a score of 388. According to the Canadian Department of Immigration, the following 10 popular professions in the construction industry can all receive immigration invitations with a minimum score of 388. Residential and commercial equipment installers and servers. Elevator builders and mechanics. Machine assembler. Heating, cooling, and air conditioning mechanics. Construction equipment workers and industrial mechanics. Carpentry. Plumber. Electrician. Welders and related machine operators. Contractors and supervisors, other construction industries, installers, repairers, and service personnel. The Canadian Immigration Department has only one qualification requirement for such candidates: having accumulated 6 consecutive months of relevant work experience or equivalent part-time work experience within the past 3 years. In the 3 consecutive days of selection, the conventional category with a minimum score of 517 invited 2,000 people, while those proficient in French invited 800 people, while blue-collar workers in the construction industry invited a total of 1,500 people. The total quota of EE is so large, and the more spots are allocated to targeted selection, the less spots are allocated to regular categories, the higher the selection score, and the greater the difficulty of being invited to immigrate. Based on this, the immigration logic in Canada has undergone a groundbreaking change. Based on the data from these 3 days alone, the quota for proficient French plus blue-collar workers is far greater than that of highly educated young people. However, for blue-collar workers from non-English speaking countries, immigration applicants for such blue-collar workers still need to overcome language barriers and have basic English communication skills, CLB 4 and 5, in order to apply successfully. It is reported that candidates in the Express Entry Fast Entry pool are evaluated based on human capital factors such as work experience, occupation, language ability, education, and age. They were assigned a comprehensive ranking system score and ranked together with other candidates in the application pool. The candidate with the highest score is most likely to receive an invitation. From May 31, 2023, the Canadian Department of Immigration announced a high-profile change in immigration screening criteria, from relying solely on system score rankings to targeted selection. The selection of construction workers began on August 3, 2023. In just 2 months, the Canadian Immigration Department has completed the turnaround. This means that candidates of different categories will compete on different tracks, with some requiring 517 points, some requiring 435 points, and some requiring only 388 points. This is clearly unfair, but this is the new game rule for Immigration Canada. At that time, the Canadian Immigration Department announced that EE would be selected into 6 categories. They are: 1. Healthcare. 2. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics (STEM) majors. 3. Industries such as carpenters, plumbers, and contractors. 4. Transportation. 5. Agriculture and agricultural food. 6. French proficiency. In fact, positions such as finance and IT in Canada that appear to be prestigious do not have an advantage in terms of income compared to those in China. On the contrary, blue-collar positions such as carpentry, hydraulic engineering, and electricians earn high salaries, with some positions even reaching the high-income class. So, the most popular immigrant market in Canada in the future is blue-collar workers with basic language skills. White-collar positions in administration, marketing, human resources, and procurement, whether nominated by federal or provincial governments, are becoming increasingly narrow and competitive. On the contrary, blue-collar positions are more likely to immigrate to Canada. Chinese families planning to immigrate now need to change their strategies by replacing their resumes with urgently needed blue-collar workers in Canada, and then raising their IELTS scores to 5 or even higher. They can then successfully defeat those high-educated elites with a score of 388 and flash kill the Canadian Maple Leaf card. Canada's new Minister of Immigration, Mark Miller, has also made it clear that he will focus on helping the Canadian construction industry attract the necessary technical talents. If we look back at the EE selection schedule in July, we can see that the changes to the Canadian Immigration Department are already underway. On July 5th, a lottery based on category immigration was held for candidates with STEM professional work experience. This is the first draw for STEM candidates since the announcement of the new immigration category on May 31st. The Immigration Department has invited 500 candidates with a minimum score of 486. On July 6th, a draw for healthcare professionals invited 1,500 candidates with a minimum score of 463, marking the second round of invitations for this category. On July 7th, 2,300 invitations were issued to candidates with strong French proficiency, with a minimum score of 439. From July 11th to July 12th, 3,800 French-speaking candidates were invited with a minimum score of only 375. It can be seen that the selection of construction workers on August 3rd is only one of the steps taken by the Canadian Immigration Department to implement its new immigration strategy step by step. If you are interested in immigrating to Canada, first master a construction skill, obtain at least 6 months of proven work experience, and then learn English or French well. Then you can easily obtain permanent resident status in Canada, which is much easier than the household registration in first-tier cities.